I'm really confident in Andre.
Matic saying that Onana is the worst goalkeeper in Manchester United's modern history. He'll be putting his feet up there, saying, I told you.
Listen, that certainly didn't help Andre Onana. The little war of words between those two, and as much as Andre Onana tried to downplay it, Nemanja Matic saying what he did kind of puts the spotlight on Andre Onana. And well, as a goalkeeper, we've all kind of been there for both goals. We understand how thin that line is, how thin that margin is. But when you're the goalkeeper for Manchester United, when you've endured or had to endure the criticism that Andre Onana has had to since his arrival at Old Trafford, it's been very up and down. And while it's been, well, in comparison to the start, it's been more up of late. You've got to be making those saves for Andre Onana. That's just the ask when you're Manchester United's goalkeeper. And while, as I say, as a goalkeeper, I understand how easy it is to make that miscalculation. He's made too many since his arrival at Old Trafford.
Is he good enough to be Manchester United's starting goalkeeper?
Expecting to compete in the Champions League, then the answer to that part is no. But Manchester United haven't been that version of themselves for quite some time.
What do you think, Stevie?
Yeah, I mean, listen, in football, you always keep your mouth shut because you never know. You know, and as Shaka said, had things been going great for him, then you can get away with talking trash. But when you're not at your best, keep your trap shut because it just makes it twice as bad now. And listen, Nemanja Matic is the only person who's sniggering right now.
Yeah.
Onana's on the bus going back to the hotel, wishing he'd kept it shut.
It's not necessarily, I wouldn't call it a criticism, but ever since his arrival at Old Trafford, he's kind of made himself the one to stick his neck out there. And we've criticized this team about not having leaders, not having real leadership and people who are willing to take some of the pressures of playing for Manchester United on their shoulders. And he's shown a willingness to do that. But if you do that, then you've got to back it up with performances. And now while maybe the press are looking for somebody to say something, nobody's saying anything. And Andre Onana thinks, well, somebody has to represent the club and express our own expectations, self-expectation, and does that. Nemanja Matic is an old warrior. He knows this territory better than anybody else. He also knows that in this game, players, teams will latch on to anything, regardless of how sterile it may seem, to use as motivation. So Andre Onana sticks his neck out there because nobody else does. Nemanja Matic understands well, what he's saying, but more to the point, the moment and the fact that he can get under Onana's skin with that. And as a result, now all the discussion is around his performances or lack thereof. As I said when he first joined, stop trying to be everything that Manchester United is lacking. Play your game. Worry about what you're doing. Let the lack of leadership, etc., figure itself out. You just have to establish yourself. That's something you grow into, and I just don't think that Andre Onana has grown into that, certainly not as a Manchester United goalkeeper.
Mario?
Yeah, and I totally agree with what you say. Like, look, when Onana was at Ajax, I know Onana, I was there at the camp because one time I had to be with the team regarding a charity kind of event or whatever with the first team. So I spoke to him. A very confident player, you understand, sure about himself. And I think that is, for me, never a problem because I love that. As a player is confident that most of the time he's at a good place and he feels good about himself and he can perform. But literally what Xhaka said, that is exactly what I agree with. You don't attack an older, more experienced player. Leave that situation because you know he can say and do the things that you cannot do yet. Why? Because one, your team is not performing every week in and out great. You are coming and playing against a team, Lyon, and Lyon is the underdog. So if you're going to play against them, even if Matic isn't himself personally, but his team is, because Man U is a bigger team. And even if your team is performing better, he can say what he wants because he can say like, okay, guys, we're going to play against each other, but he comes at me, okay, I'm going to let him have one too. And you're not performing well, you're not doing well. Don't always put the shield on you and try to protect every shot that's coming at your team. You don't need to do that. Just focus on the game, Focus on that, prepare, try to win, and you'll be in a good place. But he's fighting for no reason, because I don't think his team needs to be talking now. Just be quiet, leave it.
You wonder if that goal is going to be, like, how important it's going to be against them when it comes to the second leg, because all of their eggs right now are in that Europa League basket. Right. This is realistically their only shot this season.
Well, if they're smart, then certainly Amorim will lean on what they did in the second half of this game. At half-time, when they scored with the last touch of the ball pretty much, I'm scratching my head thinking, how is this one apiece? Because I just thought Man United was just so far off it. I thought the second half, I thought they did well. Yes, Lyon had a little flurry towards the end when the game sort of opened up, but I thought in general, the second half, Man United were the better side. And so if you're smart, if you're Amorim, you tell Mr. Onana, if you need to, because I would imagine after this performance, he'll be the last person that'll be speaking. But you tell him to be quiet and you get the troops going again and you concentrate on the good things you did in the second half, particularly the way you closed the ball higher. In the first half, they were way too deep and let Lyon play. Second half, no, they got in their face. And as I said, I thought they were the better side. So lean on that in the second leg. I think Manchester United can win the second leg.
And the truth is, we are talking about 2 goalkeeper mistakes away from home. You're coming back to Old Trafford. Now we can make the argument that Manchester United haven't been outstanding at Old Trafford themselves. But you go away, you get a result, you fancy your chances coming back home. And I think that's Manchester United's position right now. How do you offer them a draw before a ball was kicked? I'm sure Amorim takes it. The man of the draw, of course, hurts a little bit, but it is, for all intents and purposes, a good result on the road.
Here's a question. Who do you play centre forward for Manchester United?
Well, it was a question before the game whether he was going to stick with Højlund or whether he would recall Zirkzee. It looked for 1 minute that Zirkzee had saved them in this game today before, obviously, they got that late leveller. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, yes, he did. Zirkzee did save them. It was a good goal, and he did make a difference when he came on. The problem is that when he starts, it doesn't make a difference.
I think
who's the centre forward for Man United?
I think you have to play Zirkzee. Yeah, you've got at least he scored. At least he scored. So you have to give him that. But to your point, Højlund did. I mean, not only did Højlund not contribute meaningfully, I think it was evident that he is sorely lacking confidence, and that's about as nicely as I can put it. When he gets when he's in possession in and around the box, I really do feel like he's grabbing at straws. He's not sure what he's trying to do. He's not sure what's asked of him, what's around him, and a lot of times just taking the easy way out. And you can't build on that. You simply can't. So while I agree with Steve and some of his concerns around Zirkzee, at least Zirkzee's running around a little bit more. At least Zirkzee, you'll assume, can take some confidence from scoring tonight.
Right, we're going to start off with a hugely important night for the 3 British teams involved in the Europa League, especially their managers. Manchester United have just finished in Lyon, as you can see, alongside Stephen Kelly, the former Manchester United assistant manager Mike Phelan has been watching this one. So 2-2 it finished in the end. But it was during our commercial break that second Lyon goal went in, and again, Andre Onana at fault. Tell us about that goal.
It was something that should have been avoided, really. I mean, they've put themselves in a perfect position, 2-1 away with, seconds to go, really. And they allow this attempt to go in. I mean, it's a very good finish, but the actual way it comes about is disappointing. And I think Manchester United were very disappointed with that. Onana, the first goal, yes, made an error, a big error. And again, the ball that's just fluffed out of his hands. And it's just happened to have popped straight into the Lyon striker, and he's finished it very well. But it should never really come to that.
Yeah. Obviously, huge frustration for Ruben Amorim, but the wider question, I guess, how do you solve a problem like Onana? What do you do now with this player who, admittedly, he's been at fault for the 2 goals? How do you lift him? Do you keep faith with him? Do you go with the replacement?
Well, that's the biggest decision as a manager that you've got to make. You know, I know one great manager that made one huge decision in one cup final one year for Manchester United when I was there. But I think that's a decision now that you have to look at. That position, is the next keeper at Manchester United capable of taking on that role right to the end of the season? But you can't keep going through these phases where those mistakes are costing you. Because you are in the game. Man United are in the game. They're in the tie. They probably would go through at 2-1. Possibly will still go through at 2-2, I think, with that performance. But you can't keep covering up those mistakes by waiting for it to develop into a good performance all the time.
I mean, as it happens, Manchester United is still incredibly unbeaten in European competition this season. The only team across the 3 competitions that are. And I look at, now the next 7 days for them. Newcastle away on Super Sunday, and then, of course, the return leg against Lyon at home. How does Ruben Amorim approach these next 7 days?
Well, I think he will take each game as it comes. I know that's a cliche, but I think that's the only thing he can do. He'll probably have had one eye on the Newcastle game as well, but he'll pick the best team that he can, the team that can beat Newcastle, and then he'll move on to this game, this return game. I think they are in a strong position for the second leg. Okay. At home with the atmosphere, and Manchester United should have won this game today.
They should have, but it is all level heading to Old Trafford next Thursday. Thank you, Mike. And it is indeed all level for Tottenham as they head to their second leg of their quarter-final with Eintracht Frankfurt at 1 apiece. It finished that scoreline at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. They really should have taken a lead to Germany for the second leg, though, shouldn't they?
Yeah, they should have.
What was your read of it?
Yeah, I was very encouraged by Tottenham in the second half. The style of football they played, the chances they created. They didn't look, Tottenham of late have kind of looked devoid of confidence. They haven't had a spring in their step. But that second half, though, they really took it to them in the forward areas, created some really great chances. Bergvall's one off the bar, unbelievable strike from distance. But the chances they actually put together, Son's, Maddison's, and right at the end, Van de Ven's, which again, they pulls off another wonderful save from the goalkeeper. So I think on the back of what they've done with the ability to change the team as well throughout the game, bring in fresh legs, and they weren't really weakened in their side, which is something Tottenham haven't had for the whole season, basically. So I'd say they go into that second leg more confident they would have done. I think that game will hopefully breed confidence into the group, feeling that they go there and they can get a result.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, isn't it? For United, at least they come home for the second leg. Spurs, they go to Eintracht Frankfurt. We know that they've done well in this competition in the past. They can generate that incredible atmosphere at their stadium. Again, what do you expect Ange Postecoglou to do in terms of approach, or is he just a one-plan man?
I think the fact that he has the players at his disposal now, I think he's going to go as strong as he can. And I think the team he picked today is pretty much as strong as he can go. Aside from Kulusevski, I think would be a wonderful player to have who is not going to be fit. Everybody else kind of picks themselves at the moment. Whether you bring in Tell, I think Odegaard has done well at times, whether he could be an impact over there to come on, but I'd say he starts pretty much the same team. The fact that he's got Romero and Van de Ven to get at the back, that was really positive. Those two marshalled it really well, dealt with the track. I know the goal was excellent early on, but I felt they dealt with it really well. Udogie might miss the game potentially. He went off injured, but I think you're bringing in Jed Spence, who's been arguably one of their best players. So, I think they're going there hopefully in good spirits. They should feel really confident in the back of that performance second half because, like I said, some of the most creative play they've had throughout the course of the season.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll find out.
I don't know. That can happen. The best thing is to look at the goals and all the actions that Andre had in the game. To talk with Vital and Craig and try to. This is the best way to help any player is to focus on the game, what happened, what we need to improve, and then put the player again.
Oh. Ruben, Andre always seems to be quite an upbeat, kind of positive character. How was he feeling? After that, is he down or what's...
No, I didn't see him. But to be honest with you, I used these minutes to try to calm down, to come here to say the right things. But it's normal. I think I felt really quiet, the dressing room, and that is a good thing. We draw away in Europe. That is always hard, but the team is suffering. But we need to change that, and we have the opportunity to change. So let's focus on that.
I know that obviously the focus is going to be on Andre, but is that a little bit disappointing for you? Because otherwise the game you seem in control, you've created chances, you're ahead in stoppage time. You're having to sort of talk about mistakes when the rest of it is quite good and you can see that progress.
Yeah, that is clear, but we need to have results. We are talking about the performance, we are improving, we are being consistent. I think that is clear for everybody. But then we need to win, and we had the game under control. But the good thing is that the last play before the goal was one play when we want to make the third goal, and sometimes you can keep the ball. But I really like it that energy from the team to score another goal. But again, that can happen. We need to focus on changing that on next Thursday.
Ruben, I just want to ask about Lenny Yoro's performance tonight, because he took a lot of responsibility on and off the ball.
Yeah, it's really good. He's really confident. I think he's improving the physicality. It was something that he was struggling. He didn't have pre-season, so we had to maintain Lenny sometimes with a little bit problems, and we start again. So we are seeing all the work that all the staff is doing with Lenny. He feels more at home in Carrington, in our club. So you can see that he's a top player.
Good goal from Joshua Zirkzee after a phenomenal Bruno Fernandes goal. We actually thought after your press conference comments yesterday that you would start with Zirkzee. Is there a particular reason you decided not to and to go with Højlund?
Sometimes the most important players sometimes in the game is the guys that come inside during the game. So he did this job quite well. But again, Rasmus, especially during the first half, he did a lot of runs and pushed the team forward in one moment that we were struggling to find the right moment to press the opponent. So he did his job, and then Josh did a great goal and also did a great job when he was inside of the pitch.
Hi Ruben, in the last round you drew away against Sociedad, won at home at Old Trafford. I mean, how do you see the tie now? Do you feel that with the second leg at home you've got the advantage?
No, I think it's 50-50, and then we have to be really smart in the next round, because we are going to play at home in our stadium with our fans, and they will give us energy. But at the same time, this team of Lyon wants to push us to make possession near the box, to have a lot of space to make transition. So the next stage we need to play, of course, with our heart. We have to think a lot during the game. So it's a really difficult match, but again, we are playing with our fans, and we play when we play at home, we play with one more player.
So I was just going to say, and you said you hadn't spoken to Andre yet. When you do speak to him, what are you going to say? Nothing.
We have training, go with Vital, and we deal with that. So I'm really natural. That can happen with any player. We will try to help There's nothing I can say to Andre in this moment that would help him. So the most important thing is to be natural, and then when the time comes, I will choose the best 11 to play. But I'm really confident in Andre.
Yes, I am on board with everything that you guys are saying, but on that play specifically, Almada, the pass inside to Lacazette that sets up Shirky originally, then Mikautadze comes inside. Lyon are playing in such tight spaces. You're telling me that nobody at Manchester United can get that out? Like, sure, the goalkeeper is the majority I blame. That shouldn't be happening. But look at how precise Lyon are able to be at the edge of the box. United are welcoming so much pressure at the end of the game. They want to conserve their 2-1 lead.
Nico, I understand what you're saying, but the thing is, with that whole back and forth of what he said at the start with Matic, the magnifying glass is going to be on him.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
That's what's going to happen.
Do you think it got into his head in any way? Just for reference as well, by the way, if you didn't see it, Nemanja Matic did say he's one of the worst goalkeepers in Manchester United history. We talked about the quote before the match, obviously. Do you think in some ways he was kind of distracted by everything that was exchanged before the match?
I mean, I wouldn't say he was distracted, but
he's one of the worst goalkeepers in Manchester United history. We talked about the quote before the match, obviously. Do you think in some ways he was kind of distracted by everything that was exchanged before the match?
I mean, I wouldn't say he was distracted, but I think that did areas that were pretty much world-class all the way.
Yeah, but the keepers were great themselves.
Since the keepers were great, but the centre-back defending, like what Nico brings there, Lyon won't be getting the ball like that.
What centre-back do you need for that first goal? What centre-back do you need? What back line do you need to prevent that first goal?
For that first one, yes, you can't defend him on that first little one there, but that's, again, because of the wall.
I think the point is,
statistically, The teams there before Onana were way better.
You could look at this Manchester United team, and I think in any position other than Bruno, you could say Højlund is probably the worst 9 that Manchester United have had in modern history. You can look at this, Casemiro is probably the worst holding midfielder Manchester United have had in recent history. I think you could go down the line and make strong arguments for a lot of these players just because the team is so poor. Look at their position on the table. The largest sample size points at this Manchester United team being the worst Manchester United team in the last 20 years or something, right?
Ruben Amorim
So it's like a cheap shot for Matic. Like I get what both of you are saying, but yeah, of course, statistically, Onana, it's not great. Shots were fired, and he decided to clap back in that tweet. Right, because he could have been like he didn't need that last moment in the tweet where he said at least I won trophies with Manchester United when Matic never won anything when he was at Manchester United, and he didn't respond. He didn't respond in the game. Yeah,
I mean, look, this is enough time to see it. That's why I say it's hard to defend him there. You're expecting your goalkeeper. Look, he tries to push it away. There's no one in front of him.
He didn't even have to go to the ground. He could have just slid over.
And now this is the one there. You're scrapping. Okay, a lot of bodies there. But it comes direct at him.
I mean, it's not just a one-off as well. You can even see with the stat there, 9 errors leading to goals since the start of last season. That's the most of any Premier League keeper. Is there an argument to be made, Charlie, that Ruben Amorim has to look at this and assess other options for that position?
It's not just here. We're talking about the full season. And Onana has come up with a number of mistakes. I know he's a great keeper. In times when he is fit and in form, we've seen him make great saves.
Who's the backup goalkeeper for Manchester United? I bet you have no idea. No, Altay Bayindir.
Yes, I do.
The Turkish kid that's played.
He played in the Carabao Cup.
Yeah. Rarely. You think he's
against
ready?
Tottenham.
I mean, he might be.
He's looked good when he's played.
But this guy has had more experience. It would be a bold call by Ruben Amorim, given everything that's happening. If you're suggesting that he gets dropped...
Let's just give balance to this context. Let's give balance to this.
You got to wait till the summer to make a move.
Okay, let me just say this.
So you wouldn't do it for the return leg?
There's no other option, but in Onana's slight defence, if the attacking players at Manchester United were actually doing a job and putting the ball into the back of the net, we wouldn't be talking about this. So let's just say how poor they've been up the front. It's sad for Onana that he's been the one that's making the mistakes, but they've been very poor up front in the front.
It looked like they were going to leave with a win, which would have been massive because...
Ruben Amorim says he remains really confident in Andre Onana despite the under-fire goalkeeper's mistakes costing Manchester United a Europa League quarter-final win at Lyon. The spotlight was on a player described as one of the worst goalkeepers in Man United's history ahead of Thursday's first leg by Lyon midfielder Nemanja Matic, who hit back after Onana said the Red Devils were way better than the French side. The United shot-stopper received an intimidating reception at a rocking Groupama Stadium, where his error midway through the first half resulted in Thiago Almoda's free kick finding the net. United turned things around through Lainery Euro's first goal for the club and substitute Joshua Zirkzee's late header, only for Onana to be beaten by Ryan Cherki after spilling Georges Mkhitaryan's stoppage time strike as the match ended 2-2. It can happen, Amorim said. If you play football and you play a lot of games, you can make mistakes. If you look at the season, I make more mistakes than them during these last games and during these last months, so that can happen. The good thing is that we have one more game to change everything, so that should be our focus. Asked if the comments from former Red Devils player Matic, who was an unused substitute on Thursday, caused Onana to be a little distracted on a night of hostility, United's head coach said, "I don't know, that can happen. The best thing is to look at the goals and all the actions that Andre has had in the game, to talk with goalkeeping coaches, Jorge Vital and Craig Mawson. This is the best way to help any player. It is to focus on the game, what happened, what we need to improve, and then put the player in again." Amorim had not seen Onana before facing the media but said the dressing room was really quiet, adding that as the team is suffering, but we need to change that and have the opportunity to change that. Pushed on what he will say to the United goalkeeper, Amorim said nothing. "We have training, go with Vital and we deal with that. I am really natural. That can happen with any player. We will try to help. There's nothing I can say to Andre in this moment that would help him. So, the most important thing is to be natural, and then, when the time comes, I will choose the best 11 to play. But I'm really confident in Andre." Lyon boss Paulo Fonseca was proud of his players' performance against the Premier League side and was surprised by talk of a war of words between Onana and Matic. It was not a war, the Portuguese said. These are normal situations in football. It was not a strategy by Nemanja Matic at all. I think that's something normal. Of course we need to respect everyone's opinion, and I